Yeah, I did feel a little bit of an outsider, I think. I was slightly different because I was Italian. Yeah, I left school with nothing, no qualifications whatsoever. That smell of fix on your hands, it's just amazing. Trying to learn these skills when you're in your 50s is tough. And just sat home for nearly 2 years, just sort of waiting to die, really. Basically, I was a part-time porn pusher.
Welcome to This Story Is Mine with my crazy doodle dashing dog. This is episode number 4 with Toni. I've known Toni for a number of years, but it's not until I did this interview that I realised how little I know about Toni. He's an all-round great guy. If you could please leave some love for Toni and any of the other people that have been brave enough, courageous enough to tell their story on This Story Is Mine.
My name is Toni and this story is mine. Okay, so mum and dad are Italian. I was born in Italy. So dad came over here for 6 months and found work, got a work permit, found somewhere to live. And then that's for 6 months, and then mum brought me over on a train. I was 13 months old. So Horsham, West Sussex, there was a large community of Italian people there because they all ended up working at the brickworks. I mean, it was all Polish and Italian people working there. With Horsham, because there were several brickworks in the area, and it was a shitty job, piecework, horrible job, long hours. So it ended up being the Polish and Italians that ended up working there. I mean, I was brought up Roman Catholic, and they used to have an Italian service on a Sunday at the Catholic Church. Italian priests coming down from London to do an Italian service. So we always, a lot of the Italian community were meeting up there. And then they'd be putting on, every few months they'd have a sort of dinner dance type thing at the church hall there. So the community stuck together, absolutely. Everybody knew everybody. I understand Italian really well. I can read it, I can watch Italian TV, I can read an Italian newspaper. Growing up, mum and dad used to speak to me in Italian and I would answer back in English. So although I understand it really well, I struggle speaking it simply through lack of practice. I've got to get the English in my head, and then I've got to translate it, and then the words have got to come out. So I speak Italian with an English accent. Yeah, I did feel a little bit of an outsider, I think. I was slightly different because I was Italian, yeah. Because back then there weren't many. I didn't see my first black person till I was, 10, 12 years old. Back then there wasn't that kind of mix of people. At school, I was the only Italian kid in my school. I was a very bright kid, very bright, and I don't think school made the best of me. It bored me, didn't challenge me. I was in all the top groups, but I was there through no effort on my part. I was just naturally good at a lot of stuff. I've always felt that everyone's got natural talents, and very few people in life actually find out what they are because the whole system doesn't exploit that. Like computers, I was in my last year of school when the school got their first computer. So I missed out on that. I was just that wrong age group to be able to...
You were born too early, mate.
Yeah. I could have done with another couple of years wait.
So growing up as a kid, was there a point where you started finding out, actually, this is what I like, or this is what I want to explore more, this makes me excited?
It sounds big-headed. I used this line in a presentation I did last week. I said that my background, I have a wide and varied skill set, which is another way of saying I'm a jack of all trades. Because I can pretty much turn my hand to anything. when you can do anything, which ones you pick as your way forwards, as your passion, your purpose, your, what you want to really be doing when you can do anything at all. I don't know.
You know the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none? I only learnt this recently. It doesn't finish there.
Doesn't it?
No. It carries on, and you'll be quite surprised as to where it carries on to. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Even better. Even better.
Let's put a smile on your face.
And that has, because I was concerned about using the line because, that second bit, master of none. But now knowing the rest, I'll be definitely using that more. Yeah, we used to go to Italy every 3 or 4 years. And this is probably one of the things that put me off holidays, because that was supposed to be our holiday, and it would have been 2 weeks in the summer. We would spend the first week just going around visiting relatives, saying hi, here we are. It'd be 1 or 2 days either at the beach, or there was like a natural spring water swimming pool. We'd go there or the beach just for a day or 2, and then the second week we'd be going around everybody saying, we're going now, we'll see you in 3 or 4 years. When I was 14, I was an absolute arsehole at school. I was very rebellious. I pretty much spent my last year in permanent detention. I was one of the kids down the end of the field having a fag and didn't give a fuck if I got caught. I did O-level physics, O-level maths and CSE English, and that was it. I got D's in me maths and me physics, and I got unclassified for me English because I didn't have enough coursework for them to give me a grade. So, yeah, I left school with nothing, no qualifications whatsoever. I was interested, back then I was interested in electronics. Wanted to get into electronics in some form. My best mate then, a guy called Dave, he landed himself a job. This small little unit. They used to make solder up circuit boards, printed circuit boards, and he tried to get me a job, and for whatever reason, I didn't get one. And then I knew I'd do something, and I just walking down the high street, and Superdrug had this little sign in the window saying looking for a warehouse lad. So that was my first job. Full-time a warehouse lad. So I took in the deliveries and stacked the stuff away and had my own little section to look after and helped out on the tills and anything else that needed doing. I was still very painfully shy and quiet. And stuck that out for within about 5 years, till 2021. I was 2021. And then I started pushing for trainee manager role. And I was their youngest ever release store manager. But I was fucking rubbish at it because I just didn't have the personality for it. I was just too shy and quiet. I couldn't tell people off. I was rubbish at telling people what to do. And then I just needed to get out of there. I'd had enough of it. So I just jacked it in and went and worked with an old school buddy as a mechanic. He had by close to the Horsham train station, he had a little lock-up down there, and he was doing servicing and repairing cars and stuff. So I went to work for him, just on a casual basis. He was paying me cash. And we spent most of the time messing around, actually, because his dad was the transport manager for a local company called Thorn Ericsson, which back then was quite a big company. Anyway, they had a pool of company cars. And if we needed a bit of work, bring some money in, we used to phone Don up, and that was Jim's dad, say, got any work for us? And he'd look out of his office window and he'd say, yeah, there's a Sierra down there in the car park. Do you want to come and get it and stick a new clutch in it? But what I wanted to do was go and work at the brickworks. It was 4 days on, 4 days off, which is a brilliant shift pattern. With your days off, your holidays, 16 days holiday I think it was, you only work 5.5 months a year. Yeah, just socialising with my mates and stuff, really. There was no other real outside interests. I'd started to get into photography at that point. I was introduced to it by my then girlfriend. She was at art college down in Worthing, and she borrowed a camera for a weekend, and I kind of had a play with it, and that's where I got kind of hooked on it. I went and did a night class at the Adult Education Centre, and learnt how to do darkroom stuff. Absolutely loved the darkroom. Joined a local camera club. The tutor was the president of Horsham Camera Society, Photographic Society, and he encouraged us to go along. Started entering competitions and stuff, and started to do really, really well. I won loads of trophies. I was their photographer of the year in 1980. I can't remember what it was now, what year it was, but yeah, I got their photographer of the year. Yeah, Mum and Dad, they let me build a darkroom up in the loft of their bungalow. So that was my little escape place. Just spent hours and hours out there. Loved it, absolutely loved it. That smell of fix on your hands, it's just amazing. Yeah.
We know a little bit now about what you're doing outside of work and what you're getting into with your photography and stuff. And you've got girlfriends. You get a job at the brickworks?
Got a job at the brickworks, so yeah, the 4 days off then allowed me to explore the photography more.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time on that. And I got a part-time job working in Snappy Snaps in Horsham. Really enjoyed that. And I used to, if someone came in with a black and white film, I used to take it home and I'd develop it and print out contact sheets and stuff for it. So I was the black and white development department at home. And they always take the piss because it's franchise. The boss would phone up and ask how many films they'd done in the shop that day and how many films has Toni done at home.
And did you think it was going to be career orientated, or is it just the love of doing it?
No, it's just the love of doing it because I was rubbish with people. No, I was just too shy and quiet. I mean, I've got the skill to do it, but like take on a wedding, I wasn't confident with the people and directing them and posing them and stuff like that. That's what let me down.
But the last thing that I would ever turn around and describe you as is shy.
I hide it well. I know exactly where it comes from. I do know where it comes from, so I do know the history of it. As a kid, I was a blusher. At school, the teacher picks on you, you got to read out something or answer a question or something. The moment the attention was on me, it was like, I'd go absolutely bright red. I'd be sitting there sweating and that, and then it's like, it just gets worse and worse, because then everybody's looking at you, and they can see you going bright red, and you can see a few people smirking, and that just makes it worse, and it just like builds up and builds up and builds up. Late mid-20s, that it kind of, I learned to control it. Well, I don't control it, it just didn't happen anymore. I don't know, it was there was just a point when it just didn't happen anymore. I've got a lot better because I push myself past my comfort zones, and I deliberately try to put myself into situations where it's going to stretch me, but it's still with resistance. It's always been and like public speaking and stuff like that, which I'm starting to do now, and when you've trying to learn these skills when you're in your 50s is tough. Even in the last 3 weeks, I haven't made such huge progress. Doing things that I wouldn't have been comfortable with 4 weeks ago. So, the first job I got there, because I worked there several times. The first time I was stores buyer, a storeman, which was actually a pretty cool job because you're not shop floor and you're not management. You're somewhere in between the two. So you get to mix with both sides, have a laugh with both sides. And we used to have a lot of fun with it because you could spread rumours. People on both sides believed you because you're kind of neutral. Some days you just go in, like start a rumour and see how long it took to work its way around the factory and come back to you. I started to get into computers. We had a computer there in the stores, and when it was quiet, I used to tinker around on that and start to learn what computers did. Bought our first computer at home. Started to mess around with that, and then started to do. I talked the wife then into.
Whoa!
We missed out the wife bit.
Where did the wife come along?
With this 4 on 4 off, I had so much time. And to make some extra money, I got involved in MLM.
Multi-level
marketing. Yeah, pyramid schemes. And back then, the in one was L'arome fragrances, perfumes, and aftershaves. The girl I was seeing at the time, she was doing really, really well in it and introduced me to it, and I got involved in that, and I built up a pretty good team. I was making some fairly good money. That was the then girlfriend was into the MLM. We split up, and then through that group of people that I was involved with, met this girl Jenny, and she was one of my recruits. By then I'd bought my first house. I was living there and I was renting 2 of the rooms out for lodgers. Met Jenny, and then she needed somewhere to live, so she actually became one of my lodgers. And then eventually we got married. And I was getting into computers and stuff and teaching myself to program, teaching myself to write databases. I developed a new software system for the stores. Now, I did this all in my own time. And I managed to talk. It was Redland Bricks back then. I managed to talk them into buying this software off of me that I developed from scratch, taught myself. Yeah, they pay $4,000 for that, just for a bit of software. And then off the bat of that, I then did a maintenance, a routine maintenance package, software package, and they bought that as well. That was $2,500. And then news got around of what I'd done, and I was kind of headhunted by this guy who ran this tech company. They did phone systems and computer systems, software development websites. They approached me and asked me if I'd want to go and work for them. So I left the brickworks and complete change of direction. Yeah, with no qualification, all self-taught. I became the software development department at ABS Technology. Yeah. In that time, 2 years, I'd built up. I'd developed loads and loads of systems, and I was the only one looking after them. So it was easy at the beginning. You're just working on one project, and then that's done. But then when you got 20 projects that new products you got coming in, and 20 projects to maintain for people, which is getting worse and worse and worse. So a lot of long hours and stuff, and I just kind of had enough of it and thought, nah, I want to go back to brickworks again, I think. I like the 4 on, 4 off. I managed to blag my way in. They took me on as a maintenance electrician. I managed to talk them into sending me to college one day a week to become a qualified electrician. In the meantime, I'd got divorced. That all went tits up. Yeah, and then that was, I loved working there as an electrician because I'm during the days on maintenance. If the factory's running great, I've got nothing to do. So I'm just wandering around drinking coffee all day long, chatting to people. If a machine breaks down or whatever, I've got to get stuck in there and I've got to fix this thing. But the guy who trained me, I mean, he taught me that you're the expert. So they will only know what you tell them. His number one thing he used to say was never look surprised. Just look like you know what you're doing. I can remember once, it's all PLC controlled, computer controlled. I had to change a board and I hadn't isolated it properly. I pulled this board out, I went and put this other new board in. These things are about 3,000 and 4,000 pounds each. And as I'm sliding it in, the thing just like bang, all this smoke comes out of it. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Do you want to go get another one? Do you remember to switch the power off this time and then swapped it over and away we go. I was 36 then. I was going to college one day. I was running a little bit late, parked the car up in the car park, tearing to get there. I started getting pains in my chest. Went into the lesson and I sat there, I sat at the back of the class on my own and these pains in my chest are not going away. Sweating like buckets.
At 36?
At 36. And then managed to get to tea break. I thought, no, fuck this, I'm going home. So went back to the car, drove home, just went and laid on the sofa. And then woke up, before lunchtime, and then woke up about 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, still with chest pains. And I thought, no, this ain't right. So went to bed, and next morning got up early, phoned docs, went to the docs, and turned out I had a heart attack. That's when they stick a catheter in and the dye in and see what's going on. And that's when they found that one of my arteries was 100% blocked, and there's another one that's 90% blocked. I've got naturally small arteries, and what should have happened when I was 60, 70 years old was happening when I was 36. And because my arteries were so small, they were too small to operate on. So all they could do was just give me loads of pills and drugs to kind of control it. I was off sick from work for 6 months, and things weren't getting any better. So I actually left, handed in my notice, and just sat home for nearly 2 years, just sort of waiting to die, really. Yeah, and oddly enough, it did start to get better.
Was that through the drugs? Or
that was mainly,
exercise?
I mean, it was 2 years of experimenting with the different drugs I took. Slow my heart rate down, thin my blood, vacillators, which they relax your arteries so they let more blood through. And after 2 years of experimenting, I got to a point where I could sort of pretty much resume a normal life. I was still bringing in a little bit of money because I was doing some internet work. My dark and sordid past. It was when I was working as doing the software programming. I started to tinker around with websites, and to learn web development, it's easier if you've got something to work on. I couldn't think of anything else to come up with, so I started doing porn websites. And basically, I was a part-time porn pusher. Content providers give you a certain amount of free content to use, to steer traffic in to the pay sites. And then if they wanted to see the good stuff, they had to get their credit cards out. And it was, I don't know, $35 for a month subscription or whatever. And it was a 50-50 split between the actual content providers and the affiliates, me, the webmasters pushing the traffic their way. And the other growing marketplace was online dating, particularly adult online dating. So I used to push dating sites as well. And so yeah, although I'm sitting there waiting to die, there was lots of money coming in. And I was doing very, very well out of it. I mean, my best month ever was like something, I don't know, about $10,000 a month, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pulling in big bucks. Because I was involved with the online dating, I started going out on dates and stuff, and that's when I met Rachel, and then she lived down here in New Forest. I'd sold my place, and then the buying this new place fell through.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up kind of homeless for 3 months, and ended up living with Rachel. And that's when I found out that I didn't want to live with Rachel. But she knew I was looking for a place down here anyway. And then looking around, that's when I found the house I'm in now. A doer-upper, which I didn't really want to be doing it up. But it was just like these till bells go off in the back of your head somewhere and think I'm going to make money on this. And
yeah, but I look at that place that you've got, and yeah, it's a doer-upper, but the character that it's got, and when that place is finished, it'll be
amazing. But it's a family home, and I'm there on my own. As the internet's changing, the internet income was starting to drop off. So as the income started to drop off, I had to find another way of making some money, and that's when I got involved with the photo booths. Yeah, I mean, I put so much time and effort into that because I was so bad at delegating. Really, I was putting so many hours in, so much work into it. We're going to do, 5 booths on a Saturday night. I've set every single one of them up. The guys have gone out and worked them. I kind of been somewhere in the middle just in case there's a problem. And then at the end of the night, I've got 5 booths to run around and pick up. And then crawling back home at 4:30 in the morning, grabbing a power nap in the bath, and then getting up Sunday morning to go and do a wedding show. You can only keep that up for so long. That last year, full year that I did, it was 450 events. 2014, no, it was 2013, 2014, can't remember now. I'd had another 2 heart attacks. And then after the third one, things within the medical cardiac stuff, they'd got better at doing bypasses. They could now operate on smaller arteries. So they offered me a quadruple heart bypass. They offered me this bypass operation, and they had me penciled in for July or August it was. And I said, I can't do it because that's my busy wedding time. What am I supposed to do? I'm self-employed. That's my income now. I have to work. If I don't work, I don't get paid. So they very reluctantly postponed it to the end of January. And they picked the one night in January I got a wedding on. In the end, I managed to arrange cover. Yeah, I went in and had me bypass. The guys that were working it were on strict instructions to bring me the laptop next day so I could upload the photos. Reese comes in. I'm laying in this bed in intensive care with all these pipes and machines and wires. He took one look at me and he said, "You're having a fucking laugh, mate." And he turned around, walked out. "You ain't having that laptop." And he come back a couple of days later with it. I mean, once the healing was out the way, then it was pretty much I could do anything. I wasn't going to go running marathons or anything, but but then that was all cool. until 5 years ago, 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I had another heart attack and went into Southampton Hospital. And what they found was that one of my grafts was already blocked up again. So they put a stent in, and 2 weeks later, I had another heart attack. And they found another blockage somewhere else, and they got another stent in there. And then 6 months after that, I had a TIA mini stroke. That was when I was selling up. I had to get out. Yeah, it was going to kill me otherwise, yeah.
It was trying to.
Yeah, pretty much. The signs were there. So, yes, I sold the business and I did pretty good out of that. The one thing that struck me was that every now and again you'd go out and do a job and it was just a bit quiet. They weren't using the booth much. They weren't getting many photos out of it. So, and phone cameras were getting better and better. I would go around and take a few photos on my phone. The problem was there was no easy way to print these photos to include in a guest book or anything. So originally it was just a laptop and a bit of software and lots of messing around to actually be able to print a photo off. And then I started messing around with computers and mini computers and stuff, and I come up with the Selfie Wizard. So it was a self-contained little box that made it an absolute doddle to print a photo from any mobile phone. It was never meant to be something to sell. It was just literally a tool for me to use on my events. And someone saw me using it and said, well, can I buy one? I said, yeah, all right. And that was the first sale, and that's where it all took off. I made 20 of these units and popped them on a Facebook group. Say, right, these are the first 20, 450 quid each. Let's see what happens. And they just got snapped up in no time. And it was the DJs that were buying them, because then it was really easy for them to offer it as an add-on to their services. They just plugged it into a TV, so they had a slideshow. Most of them weren't interested in printing, they actually just wanted the slideshow part of it. The photo boothers had the printers, so they could offer the printing side of it. So I had 2 marketplaces for it. And it was just a case of, well, where can I go and show this off? And it was DJ conferences and meetings and the Facebook groups, photography show at NEC, and then ended up Vegas, well, 4 times, Chicago, Brisbane. I did a show in Hawaii, all off the back of this. The Selfie Wizard did really, really well, but unfortunately COVID kind of put a real big spanner in it. First of all, events stopped, so nobody was buying it. And then just as things are starting to get going again, I can't get supply parts, so I can't make any. And I've got a waiting list of over 50 people that want to buy a Selfie Wizard, but I can't make any. And I just cut the list off. It's pointless taking any more names. It will bounce back eventually, maybe hopefully later on this year, and I can resume that. Because that's not working, I've had to find other things to replace it with. And that's where the phoneOgram came in. And that was another one that's kind of all this stuff kind of happens by accident. I was aware of the phoneOgram. They've been around for at least 6 years. But it wasn't something that particularly interested me and I wanted to do. And I was approached by 2 DJs, asked me, could I come up with something similar? They did it in such a way, they knew it was going to be a challenge to me, so I got stuck in and did it. Took me 6 months to develop, and now that's about to take off. That first year of lockdown, just sitting on my arse with nothing to do really, lots of people made good use of that time. I didn't. I wasted it, totally wasted it, and I kick myself every day for doing that. It wasn't completely my fault. The way they kept us stringing along, another 3-week lockdown, another three. So the bookings and stuff I had in the diary were just getting shifted along rather than just disappeared. If I'd known we were going to be sitting on our asses for 2 years, I'd have made better use of that time. We were just getting strung along. After the end of that first year, I kind of figured out that no, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I want something different. So, didn't know what I wanted to do, but knew I didn't want to be doing what I'm doing now, or was doing then. So I come up with this master plan of sell up, liquidise everything I got, and walk away with whatever I can fit in one suitcase and a very healthy bank balance. Realistically, because of my medical history, if I've got another 10 years, I'll be lucky. So, with the money I'm worth, without the bills and the little bit of mortgage and the other stuff going on, if I don't have any of that, I've got enough money to never have to work again. Pace myself so it lasts 10 years. And then if I'm still alive in 10 years' time, we'll worry about it then. So that was essentially the master plan. Sell up and just get out there. I'm gonna move back to Horsham because that's where my friends and family are. And then not rent anything. I'm just going to go live in a hotel. It's actually cheaper to live in a hotel than it is to rent a flat. And then I'm in a position to choose anything that happens to come my way and move forwards that way. That's the plan.
So Tony, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for being so honest and candid and open about your life, your story. I hope whatever you want moving forward appears.
It will.
And again, thank you, mate.
No problem at all.
Mate, cheers, buddy.
No problem at all.
The cold suddenly just started kicking in about
The sun's
half an hour.
disappeared and temperature's dropped.
Enjoy it.